Thank you for joining us today for the virtual Sunday service with the Center for Creative Living. CCL, a charter of the Universal Church of the Master, has served and supported the spiritual needs of its community here in the Bay Area for over 20 years.
Good morning. This is the Reverend Doti Boon, and I want to thank you so much for joining us. This is an exciting day. And, every Sunday's pretty exciting here at CCL. Now, today, I am recording from my office. And behind me, I have Marilyn Monroe. And over the top, I have Mae West. Pretty good women to be connected with. Because I like having strong women around me when I'm talking to you this morning. Now, he's talking about strong women. We're going to have a wonderful prayer, and I want you to join in the prayer. Take a time to just calm down and listen to the prayer. And then Izzy is going to be talking to us about a wonderful opening that she had in her heart. And that's going to be fantastic. And then we're going to have a video, and it's accompanied by the Reverend Janet Childs, and she's going to be playing her guitar, and she's going to be singing, and Reverend Corry Gott is going to be doing the slides. So isn't that exciting? All these women surrounded by women this morning just for you. Please enjoy. Don't forget to get on the chat, and don't forget, please donate money to CCL. Things are a little rough right now, and we appreciate you doing your tax-deductible charitable donations. Thank you so very much.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Reverend Dr. Ayleen Augustine, and I'm here to share the morning prayer with you. And it is, it's kind of a tough time in my household, because my dog Sam, who's deciding to sit over there for now, he is, and my apologies for not introducing him in the last video. Sam is a Queensland healer, and he's an old guy, and he's my best buddy, and he's getting ready to leave this world. I found out that he, is very sick, and the chances of him getting better are tremendously slim. And of all the things that when you've had practice at it, that you don't ever get good at it, saying goodbye to a pet is one of them. And I want to thank everyone for their kindness and for their compassion and for their support during this time. I mean, it's 2020 is just the gift that keeps on giving. And yet there are gifts in it, because I do still have time. We're not sure exactly how much, but it's not going to be a whole lot. And it'll be enough. It'll be enough for me to celebrate the joy of having him in my life, and to be able to give myself the space to kind of reach a level of acceptance with it, so that when we do go into, that last bit of time, that I can have it with some compassion, and, compassion for myself and for him, and for my cat Luna, who really adores Sam, and she's going to be really having a bad time. And we'll get through it. We'll make it through, because I know that where Sam is going, it's going to be wonderful. There will be no pain, and he gets to hang out with my animals that had, passed before he did. And I look forward to being with them again. And right now, it's just about keeping him comfortable. So, your continued prayers are very much appreciated for this to be as gentle a process as possible for all of us. And it's at these times, last time I said, it's when we're going through tough times that God is the closest to us. And I can feel Creator close to me through this and through this experience. And even though I've had this experience before, and I started this year losing my brother, it's okay, because I know that love never dies. So with that thought, I want everybody to take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, let anything weighing on your body, your mind, or your spirit, especially those things that we feel we've lost, just allow them to fall away from you into that little imaginary care basket. Because in this place and at this time, please don't hold on to it, because life is far too short and precious. Dear, blessed, wonderful Creator, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for our lives. We thank you for all the blessings you give in each and every moment and with each and every breath. We thank you for the blessing of life itself. We thank you for the experiences we have and the love that we know and the love that we share. And we especially thank you for the special, special beings in our lives that make our lives better. And we also know that at some point we all return to you. And we know that you'll be waiting there with your arms open, and that each and every one of us who are left behind, that you will comfort us, that you will hold us in this space. And no matter what, we will always remember that the price of love will never be greater than the power of it. Creator, thank you for all those who have passed, and all those who lost them. And help us to be able to continue this walk and to acknowledge our feelings and work through grief, because we know that grief is actually the gift you gave us for being able to find our way out of those sad places. That is the process that you gave us so that we can be able to find meaning and peace through whatever it is we have to go through. Thank you so much for that, Creator. And I thank you for Sam. And I thank you for the love that he has shared and all he's given to my life. And Creator, I thank you for this time that I have to be able to share with him just a little bit longer. Thank you so much for that. Creator, you are with us from the moment that our heartbeat starts, when we first become a being in this world. And I know that you're with us right up until the end. And it's your hand that reaches out to guide us into the light. Thank you for all you give and all you are. And whatever it means to you, we hope you have a wonderful day. For all your creation to the next 7 generations and beyond. Aho matak oyasin, ago, ago, ago. By earth, sea, and sky. Namaste, shalom, assalamu alaikum. Blessed be, and amen.
Hi, my name is Izzy. I want to tell you about an experience I just recently had that actually came from a tragedy in my family. Let me just explain that all of my life I was raised with completely mixed messages and blurred lines, and I have a mother who basically has abandoned me time and time again. She shunned me when I was growing up. She happened to be into automatic writing, and she was a channeler, and I picked up a lot of that from her as a child. I mimicked that. I did a lot of that, and but she still made fun of me. She would kind of get together with my brother and gang up on me. And then when the time came, my dad was very abusive. She left with the promise that she was getting us an apartment and moving up to the Bay Area. So my brother and I waited in Orange County with my grandmother, and she never came. My dad came up here and found out that she'd been having an affair with this man since I was 4 years old, that I had seen around all my life. My mother basically abandoned my brother and I at that point, and when I asked her, what about, we're your kids, what about us? She said, I don't owe you anything. I changed your diapers. I did my obligation. So that time her husband had gotten her into Scientology, and they were really like robots. And I didn't know who my mother was anymore. And every time I'd ask her to live with her, she'd say no. It's just been like that. It's been like that most of my life. And the most recent thing that happened to me was that I was a victim of a crime. And when I was escaping, my mother turned her back on me and has always turned her back on me. Well, I'm up in Oregon last month because the grandmother, my father's mother, that partially raised me and had taken me in as a teenager, she died. And she was probably the greatest influence of my life. And I went up to Oregon with one of my uncles, and we met up with my family. And I hadn't seen one of my aunts and one of my uncles I went to high school with because we were the same age, and I lived with them. And we were reunited. And in that reunitedness, I guess, I got to see my brother and his wife and his kids. His kids I hadn't seen since they were real little, like 5 and 7. And they were 19 and 21, and they were all grown up, and they were really good kids. And I was kind of looking at my brother and his wife and his kids differently. Like, his wife used to look down on us, and I didn't like her. But this time I thought, I'm going to just talk to her. How about saying hi and how are you? And she warmed up to me instantly, and I got to see her for a different person, the wife that my brother's had all these years, and the children that he raised without chaos. The day that we buried my grandmother, we buried her right next to my father. And my father was the fire chief of NASA, incidentally. The entire state broke out in a fire. The entire state of Oregon caught fire right when we were burying my grandmother. We looked up at the sky and it was red, and people were running and saying, it's time to evacuate. We had to get all of our things. We evacuated to a town north to where we thought we'd be safe, and we found out that town was evacuating the next day too. So we didn't know where to go. My aunt and uncle and I that I'd gone to high school with, and we were together, and we couldn't go west because the forest was on fire. We couldn't go east, and we couldn't go south. So my brother, who lives in Longview, Washington, which is on the border of Washington and Oregon, said that the sky was blue there, and that was the only place it was blue. So we had to drive all the way up there through Portland, across the bridge, into Washington, stayed one night at a hotel, and the next morning, my mother happens to live there in the same neighboring town. And her husband had been texting quite a few times, checking on us. And he finally texted and said, check out of your hotel room and stay with us. This meant I got to actually see where my mother lived, because she would never have told me her address. I went there, and automatically her husband said things to me that I didn't like. I'd always heard my dad's voice in my heart or my head saying, oh yeah, he's just got a little man's complex, or he's this or he's that. And so I was always defensive for my dad, and I'd go outside. They lived in the middle of the forest. It was the most beautiful, most breathtaking place I've ever been. All it was missing was an ocean, and it was just like heaven. I spent a lot of time out in that forest alone, crying, praying, calling people that I knew from here, pleading, like, what do I do? Just keep praying. I just kept praying, and I just kept praying, and I just kept praying. And the day before I left, I was outside again crying and praying, and something hit my heart, something I had never, ever felt. It was my dad. but he was in my heart. And he said, through my heart, just make peace with them. Make peace with who they are. You can't change them. Just make peace with who they are. I'd never heard that in my heart. I'd always heard my dad's voice saying the things that he would have said when he was on this plane of existence. But it never occurred to me that a spirit would not be judging and saying the things that he did in the human plane. When I felt that in my heart, my whole mind completely just made a head spin, and I went, that's what it is. My other grandmother died last year, my mother's mother, and I finally had come to accept them, but I didn't make peace with that. I accepted them, but I still had anger. I would say things about my mother like, always derogatory and always sarcastic and negative, but the reality is, it changed my heart. And I went back inside, and my whole attitude was different towards her husband. He must have noticed it or felt it because he reacted differently. And then it hit me. He's always been that way to me because when he sees me, he sees my father's face. And it reminds him of the guilt of all the things that maybe he had done. Cheated on a woman with a married woman, took her away from her family. I don't know if that's true or not, and it doesn't even matter to me anymore. But it changed the way he reacted towards me. And then my mother, when no one was around, the one that I never really thought loved me, took me into this room and said, I want to show you something. I've had this for a while now. I bought this. It was an old book. And the name of the book was my first name and my middle name. And I've changed my name legally because of the crime I was a victim of. But my mother had found this book with my old name and my middle name. And in that instant, I knew that that was the way she knew how to say that she loves me. And it changed the way I reacted. So now I have a relationship with my mother. I had to come to it on her level, and I'm okay with that now. And I now have the chance to send her pictures. I've been mailing her pictures, and she has been able to compile a little album now of her grandkids and her great-granddaughter. And even if my kids don't ever forgive me or forgive her, I know that the only path for me was to find that forgiveness in my heart now that I look back, if I ever want to be forgiven by my own kids. And it wasn't a matter of accepting, it was a matter of making peace with. And that's what I experienced. And now, no matter what turmoil might go on with my grandmother's death on my dad's side, I still have that bond now with my mom that I've never had, because I finally let go and made peace. And my heart is truly happy now. And I never thought I'd ever say this, but I made peace. And I have found a miracle. Thank you.
Izzy, what a fantastic talk for today. It was so great to see you sitting in front of Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion here at the Center for Creative Living. I hope we'll be back soon meeting in the sanctuary because I feel that's where we should be. But so far, we're doing really well talking to you virtually. So many people I minister are going through difficult times with one or sometimes both of their parents. So many people forgive only with their mind and not with their heart, like you were talking about. Forgiving our parents is an incredible step into adulthood and one of the most crucial kinds of forgiveness. Because without forgiving our parents or the parental figures we might have had in our life, we will see them reflected in our mates, our friends, our bosses, our children, and even sometimes in ourselves. So think about when you feel rejected by a parent and you remain in that state. You will continue to feel rejected by other people, other important people in our lives. It might be your boss. It might be somebody that you really want to impress, but you constantly feel rejected. So if you let our parents off the hook, that's the first step toward happiness, self-acceptance, and even, spiritual growth. In your case, that small voice that had been talking to you was your inner critic. It had been talking to you for, it seems like, all your life. And it kept recalling all the bad treatment you'd received at the hands of your parents and others. Sometimes, this critic told you it happened because you weren't good enough, or maybe that your mother never loved you, or even that your stepfather had always been mean to you. And yet, when you felt your heart open, like you did in the forest, there was plenty of good enough in all of you. And Spirit talking through your heart had the power to release years of negativity and let that love shine instantly through you. Remember how good that felt to instantly have love right in your heart. Lizzie, I'm so proud of you, and I'm proud of all the others who've been raised by adults who didn't feel enough about themselves to appreciate their light in their child's heart. Anyway, they didn't know how to help it shine. So don't try to diminish your own light, even though those people might not have felt good enough about themselves. After all of the mental, emotional, and physical harm you have suffered, it was the beauty, the joy, and Creator's energy within the forest that cleansed you. And it allowed love and light to enter your heart chakra, and it opened up fully so you could not only accept and forgive, but also release the devastation you have encountered in your life. Isn't that a wonderful feeling when you can release and you can forgive? I hope that all of the folks that are watching this morning can find their own miracle in the woods that you talked about. And they can release their anger and allow forgiveness and acceptance to be the keys to unlock their hearts. Izzy, I feel that you have just started a wonderful opening of many people's hearts simply by sharing your story this morning. So why don't we all try and feel that? So take a moment to close your eyes. Picture your forest. And think of, while you're standing there in the forest, someone who has wronged you, someone who has betrayed you, someone who has made you feel not good enough. And as you picture them standing in the forest, look at them, look at their face, look at their body, and very gently look at their heart. And let your love beam towards them so that their spirit can find their love and open their heart like yours was opened. Thank you all so very much for joining us today. I want you to know that with your heart released and open, you're going to find as you move forward that not only are you going to be forgiving people, but you're also going to be forgiving yourself for any of the anger, frustration, or despair that you might have been feeling. So I want to say, blessed to you. I bless you, I love you, and I know that your day is going to be so much better by listening to Izzy this morning. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Ebb and flow, flow and ebb and flow. Which way does our soul? Which way does our soul go? Mystery of eventide, the mystic road back home, the ebb and flow we all ride, the dancing waves of foam. Ebb and flow, flow, flow and ebb, oh ebb and flow. Which way, oh my soul? Hold true to the seasons change. Be real to the evolution. Feel the gentle breeze. Know the rising resurrection. Oh, flow and ebb. Oh, ebb and flow. Oh, ebb and flow. Oh, what calls my soul? Reach down with your hands in the earth. Reach up to the sweet rebirth, rebirth. Invoke this heart song, invoke this heart song, springing forth, oh, forth in this moment now, in this moment now. Don't know the why or how, in this moment now. The mystery of eventide, mystic road back home, ebb and flow, the we alright? Dancing waves, waves of foam. The ebb, oh, the ebb and flow. The flow and the ebb, oh, the ebb and flow. In my soul, do I know? In my soul, the ebb and flow.
Thank you for joining us for this celebration of faith and fellowship. We'll be back next Sunday, and for those of you, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them in the comments section. If you appreciate this video and the work that the Center for Creative Living is doing, please press like on the video. You can share the video, and also please subscribe, because that will help this community and the church grow. Remember, in these difficult and challenging times, the opportunity to give and support an organization that has done so much for the community is tremendously important. Please help the Center for Creative Living continue in the wonderful work that it does. We will make it through this. We will be stronger for it. Our faith will carry us. Be blessed, be safe, and have a wonderful week.